Hi everyone, just before we get into another episode of What a Load of Bulls, we just want to give a shout out to our partners, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Newcastle Car and Truck Rental are a locally owned company servicing Newcastle and the Hunter. Todd Holden and family pride themselves on being part of the local community, and you feel that when you step through their doors. It isn't a different person every time you call, it's the same people taking care of business and taking care of you. So next time you're in need of a rental, be it a truck to move, a ute for those everyday DIY jobs, or a car to get the family around on a day out, be sure to contact the team at Newcastle Car and Truck Rental by visiting www.newcastlerental.com or by calling 02 49 081 081. And don't forget to tell them DJ and Simon sent you. Welcome back, everyone. Episode 52 of the What a Load of Bulls podcast with myself, DJ Dilworth, and co-host Simon Little. Simon, welcome back.
Thank you very much, DJ. Glad to be back for another episode. Excited about this one. A couple of special guests coming right up.
Very good, mate. Yeah, we're continuing with our recent theme of recycling our guests. So Neil Dalrymple, CEO of World Bulls, is back with us.
Thanks,
well, he's managed to bring a friend with us. He's brought Brett O'Reilly, who is president of World Bulls. So Brett, kia ora.
Kia ora,
welcome to What a Load of Bulls.
Pleased to be here.
Just a bit of housekeeping before we start, Brett. How do we address you? Is it Brett? Is it Mr. O'Reilly? Is it Mr. President? What, President O'Reilly? How do we...
Well, Neil calls me Hey You, but you can call me Brett.
That'll do. We'll stick with Brett. Good on you. No, mate, it's great to have you on. Neil's mentioned you a couple of times. He says you'd be really good to have on. Great personality in the sport. So, mate, welcome. It's an honor for us to have you here. First up, who are you? What are you doing here? Bit of background. How'd you get into the sport, Brett? How long have you been doing it, leading right up to being president of World Bulls, I suppose? How'd you get into that?
I've been 63 years on the planet, and I think I've been involved with bowls probably just about for every year of those 63. My family, my grandparents were pretty competitive players, so probably as soon as I could walk or be pushed around, I was at a bowling club. I think I had my first unofficial tournament when I was about 12. Couldn't join a club in New Zealand in those days, which is where I'm from originally, until I was 18. Actually started working as a bowls journalist, covering bowls for the local newspaper and doing a bit of broadcasting before I started to play. And I've been involved in various capacities over the years. You know, huge honour to be elected as World Bowls President last year. But rather than seeing it kind of as the culmination of a lot of time in the game, I kind of really see it as a huge opportunity to drive change in the game, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, nice. So what's your role as president involve? Like, what are you doing day to day type of thing, or what are we expecting from you?
I think everyone does the job a little bit differently, and I've had a lot of involvement with World Bowls over the years, and obviously worked closely with my predecessor Daryl Clout. So on a weekly basis, I'm talking to Neil most days. That's probably because we've got a hell of a lot on at the moment. Generally, there's several video conferences a week, either with member nations around the world, with some of our key partners. One of the things I did after I became president is set up a more extensive governance structure with committees. So there's generally a committee meeting on every week, or an opportunity to talk to some of the chairs. So there's quite a bit of work to do around that. I also set out in the first 6 months to try and do quite a bit of travel, try to combine that with some of the business activities that I'm involved with. And so I've been to 4 of our 5 regions, haven't been to the Americas yet, and that was a really good opportunity to get out and about and talk to people and just really get their view on you know where some of the opportunities were in the game. We've had a strategy since 2022, which was approved at the Commonwealth Games, which we've just recently updated. But really, I'm focused on trying to deliver against that strategy. And I just think there's nothing like getting out and talking to people to understand, you know, some of the challenges in the game and, quite frankly, some of the opportunities. And there are plenty of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said it there too. I mean, part of the reason we've got you on, we've been excited to get you both back on, you have been flat out in the last few months. Like I was just saying there before we came on, every time I log on to social media, there seems to be an announcement from World Bowls. You've been busy as you've mentioned there about the travel. So we've noticed recently the big trip to Ghana. Alrighty, so how was that? What are we going to achieve from that with the sport? And just talk us through your trip.
Look, it was an amazing experience. Neil and I were at the World Indoors in Aberdeen earlier in the year, and Charles and Mofa came to that event from Ghana Bowls, and wanted to talk to us about what he saw as some of the opportunities in Africa, and invited us to come. That set off a frenetic few months of activity and planning it, and so I was accompanied on that trip by Sue Beat from Scotland, who's on the board, who's a bit closer to Africa than I am. So in future, if we need to get a World Bowls board member there, Sue can get there. David Hamer, who's our regional ambassador for Africa and also the Bowls South Africa president, and Owen James, who's the acting president of International Bowls for the Disabled, coming on as well. And, like a lot of things with our game, it was interesting as Charles and his team started to understand more about bowls, they started to see even more of an opportunity for Ghana. And what does that opportunity look like? Well, when we met them in Aberdeen, they talked about the opportunity for bowls to be a sport that young people could play. Relatively easy to play. We're pushing short mat as our entry level for countries, so you don't require a green, you don't require massive amount of facilities, just a flat area where you can roll out the short mat. And we had some amazing support from some of our partners like Henselite, who provided a lot of gear and bowls. Bowls Australia provided a rookie rollers kit. So that was the plan, to have a launch function, launch it in Ghana, and then use that as a stepping stone to launch in the rest of West Africa, where there are a number of countries that we think would be interested in playing bowls. And we got some great support from Dr. Donald Rukari, who's the interim president of the Commonwealth Games Federation. He's from Uganda. And the new IOC president, Kirsty Coventry, she's from Zimbabwe, and she sent a nice letter of support about it. But what we discovered was actually there was interest in disabled bowls. There's a lot of disabled people in most countries, and Ghana's no exception, and the government's really keen to drive sport there. So we had a bunch of their Paralympians turn up for the launch function. And then the real revelation was the Ghana Armed Forces. So about 2 weeks before I went to Ghana via Australia and South Africa, because I went to the Australian Open, then to some events in South Africa, and then to Ghana with the team. And the Ghana Armed Forces have adopted bowls as one of their official sports. And one of these senior officers, I think who's a colonel, who's in charge of training for the Ghana Armed Forces, got up at the launch and said, completely unprompted from any of us, said, I've been studying this game and I like it because it's about critical decision making. And in the military, we train people to make critical decisions. So I like bowls because it forces individuals to make critical decisions, and it forces teams to make critical decisions together. And that's what we do. You couldn't have scripted it better. Everyone clapped. And so that was a couple of months ago. Time flies in this role. And later this month, we've got the first Ghana Armed Forces Bowls Championships happening in Ghana. We're sending a couple of technical officials up from South Africa, given that they've never run a bowls tournament in their lives. And straight off the back of that, we've now got other African countries interested in joining World Bowls. So, we've laid down the marker that we're committed to development. We've made it simple for countries that are interested in joining to play, through short mat, and we've set up a buddy system with countries and our ambassadors system to try and have people who are based in those regions that can easily go and help. So, yeah, off to a great start, and just amazing people. I'm still wearing a bangle that I was given as sort of a good luck charm when I was in Ghana, and I think we will see a team from Ghana at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow next year, probably from their armed forces, and I reckon that's going to be pretty cool.
That is magnificent.
That's unreal, isn't it?
That's a brilliant story. That is brilliant. Like, this is why we wanted to get you on, because obviously we've read the newspaper articles, but it doesn't dive into it as deep as that. I mean, that is a brilliant story to hear. That is fabulous. Thank you for that. So basically what we're picking up as your presidency is you're sitting at home just living off the name. You're not really doing much.
Yeah, look, I've just got this avatar that appears in different places around the world, but it's not actually me. It's just a very clever projection of me. But I seem to be getting very tired staying at home.
Yeah, I mean, you just have been busy. We can see that. And it's mate, unbelievable. And that's great to keep an eye out for that now, for all the other African nations starting to join in. And it's great from mine and Simon's point of view. It's great to hear it starting out from short, Matt, because that's how we get into it normally back at home. Obviously,
that's how we started.
You've been over there to Ireland, Northern Ireland. It's not a very hot country. We don't get to play outdoor all the lot. That's still the pinnacle for everyone, but short mat's what the majority of the population play. Not even the indoor stadium. There's not many of them around there, but that's what we were brought up on. That was our bread and butter. So it's good to see that. It's good to see that.
And that's how I started too. New Zealand has its own form of short mat using slightly smaller bowls, and I started playing that I think when I was about 13 because I couldn't play outdoor bowls. So and it was a good way to learn the game, good way to learn tactics and how the game's played.
Well, we had Ali Forsyth on there a couple of weeks ago. He said exactly the same thing. So
I played Ali when he first started playing what we call indoor bowls in New Zealand, which is rather confusing now. But and other people like Gary Lawson was another very good indoor player who started probably about the same time as I did. So yeah, a lot of the people that have come through into outdoor kind of learned the game on the short mat and then took it outdoors.
Hey, Brett, can I just jump in and go, that good luck charm that you have on your wrist, you wouldn't happen to have a bucket load of those for DJ? Because he needs all the luck he can have on the bowls green. He's not going too good at the moment. So I'd love to know if you've got a bucket load of them there that you could send his way.
Well, look, I mean, there's good luck and there's the impossible luck. But I'll bring one over for you, DJ.
Thanks, appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. Simon, how'd your relegation go from platinum pennant?
Yeah, move on to the next question.
Yeah, get on, yeah. All right, Brett, mate, just from that little brief one, I think we'll have to get you back on and do your own show and find out a bit more about your background, where you're going and what you're doing, because that is some good stories already. But the main reason we're here is want to look at some of the announcements you have made over the last 4 or 5 months. So Ghana was one of the big ones. They've formed their own federation now. So that sort of lines up with what we talked about last year, Neil, when we were talking about World Bowls and bowls trying to be in the Olympics. So we need to get more member federations. Big news coming out that you have, International Paralympic Committee has given you the status of RIF, so recognized international federations. And World Bowls and BA have just launched their campaign to get Brisbane included in 2032. So Brett, you take a breath for a second. We'll let Neil jump in now. And Neil, just talk us through this process and how it helps us, and tell us more about the campaign for Brisbane.
Sure. Well, the first exciting piece of news is the fact that Bowls and World Bowls is now a member of the International Paralympic Committee. So, this is something that we've been working on since October 2023, and as we've been told, some of this international sport moves slowly, so we can attest to that. And it can be a bit frustrating waiting for outcomes, waiting for decisions to be made. But fortunately, all the ducks started to line up, and here we are now with membership of the IPC. Which by being a member of the IPC, the opportunity now has arisen for us to apply to Brisbane 2032 and through the IPC to be included for the 2032 Paralympics. So that's a huge announcement. Obviously, we have been in the Paralympics before as a sport back in not up until 1996, the Atlanta Olympics, and it's not something that's foreign to the sport of bowls. But I think the fact that we're back with a chance of coming in. And I think, if for example, if we don't get in 2032, then we're going to keep pushing away for inclusion in future Olympics, because we know from our members' perspective, being part of the Olympics, being part of the Paralympics is very important for the sport. We know that whilst it's great to be in the Commonwealth Games, it actually doesn't open up as many funding opportunities, commercial opportunities, as does the Olympics. And talking to someone today, a number of international federations live and survive off their funding from the IOC. So being a full Olympic sport, that's where the money is, and that's how they're able to continually invest back into the sport, back into regions, back into places like Ghana, and we can do more and more if we have more money. So, which is certainly what we aspire to do. At the moment, we're doing it with a pretty small budget, a small team, small staff, but we're getting good outcomes from a very low base. So that's exciting. And then the second part of that opportunity is the Bowls for Brisbane campaign, which is going to be officially launched on the 21st of August. And that's going to take shape in an Australia versus the rest of the world, which will be staged a match, a bowls game, which will be staged and telecast, broadcast live on Fox Sports through into Sky Sport in New Zealand and across the world during the BPL this year in October. So in the Bowls Premier League. So we'll be featuring on one of the nights of the BPL. We're also going to run a similar match, which should I announce now, Brett? Oh, yeah,
you can. Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to run
exclusive, everyone, exclusive.
This is one of the little gems we were going to hold back, but anyway, too late now. We're going to have a Malaysia versus rest of the world feature match at the World Cup. So again, it'll be short, sharp. It'll obviously be displaying the best elements of the sport, but we know, like you guys know, the Commonwealth Games next year is going to be short, sharp format, and this is similar to the BPL. We'll be showcasing that format in these two showcase matches at the BPL and at the World Cup, and with the outcome to get more interest in the sport, but with a focus to get ourselves into Brisbane 2032. So it's an exciting time with both those, and we're working very closely with Bowls Australia in doing that. Obviously, they've got a strong interest in the sport being in the Olympics in 2032. We know we've got the facilities, we've got the people, we've got the volunteers. So, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the sport in 2032. But we know there's going to be other opportunities in the future too, whether it be 2036, 2040. Brett and I still may not be around in 2040, but it's something that we can aspire to, and obviously get great. Be really happy with if we're successful in achieving these goals.
That's fantastic. Like we spoke last year, like we said on the podcast, about Brisbane 23 and realism. You've really made some massive steps in the last 12 months. Like that's a big one to get that recognition from the IPC. And all those games coming up that you're leading up to, the ones you've just announced, fantastic. If you need any help, I'm available for commentary.
Can I just add one of the other key parts of what we're doing with IPC is our proposed merger with International Bowls for the Disabled. So we've been working with IBD for the last couple of years, and we're hoping to have that merger completed this year. That's a condition of our membership in IPC, so we need to get it done. And for both those Bowls for Brisbane games, they will be integrated teams with para athletes playing in those teams. And I think one of the things you'll see is a much greater focus from us working with IBD on integrating para athletes and para bowls into what we're doing. We're integrating it at the governance level in the sport. We're doing it at a playing level, and we've got a bunch of other ideas of how to do that. So that and we have an amazing story to tell as a sport which is already pretty integrated, compared to other sports.
Yeah, well, the next thing I was about to ask you was what's your confidence levels in the process? And obviously, we can't guarantee that this is going to be a thing in 2032, but just from listening to you talking, you're pretty confident that even if it doesn't happen, the pathways are open for future. Like that's massive. That, like I said, that's big strides in 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, Neil hit the nail on the head. Even being an IPC member and being an IOC member, and we're exploring ways that we can join the IOC, gives bowls a chance of being in a lot of those multi-sport events that are around the world. There's all sorts of events: Black Sea Games, Islamic Solidarity Games, Mediterranean Games. You name it, where bowls could potentially be participating, but we don't tend to be included because we're not recognised by the IOC or by the IPC. So that will help. Neil's touched on the funding, and there's huge opportunities there. And as we've said, we'll just keep chipping away. I think Brisbane's a huge opportunity for us, and I think we've got a better than even chance of being taken seriously. But when you look at, India's potentially bidding for the 2036 Olympics, we know bowl's has been a success story in India since they hosted the Delhi Commonwealth Games. So, yeah, we just keep having those conversations, talking about getting bowls out there. And, of course, one of the key things is making it an attractive television sport. And so Glasgow gives us an opportunity next year at Commonwealth Games to present bowls in a very different way. Not entirely different from how other people have done it, but we've got
shorter and sharper.
Yeah, and we've got some innovations that we want to do around the broadcasting and some other things that we're working on. So, and people have noticed. People have noticed the fact that that we are flexible, we can play indoors. So hopefully that'll hold us in good stead for getting bowls included in the Olympics, but in some of these other multi-sport sport events as well, because we don't want the fact that we don't have bowling infrastructure in countries to be a reason why we're not included.
Yeah.
And with portable rinks, short mats, we should be in every one of those competitions, regardless of whether it's actually in a country that's got bowling greens.
Yeah, being able to adapt and things like that there.
And to add that to DJ, I think the other opportunity is being an IPC and IOC sport, countries will then get more interested in wanting to become members. So we need to grow the number of countries that are affiliated. And we've got lots of interest now, more interest than ever from countries around the world. Now it's just getting them to that next level and getting them set up. So whether it's Uganda in Africa, Poland, Italy, all on the radar right now. Bermuda has just joined us officially recently. Vietnam is close. So but we need to get our numbers up to around about 80 at least, a minimum of 80 affiliated countries. We're over 60 now. So, but there's still, I was talking to someone about athletics today, and they've got 210 countries affiliated to World Athletics, and and as I said before, they get IOC funding, and then they're able to put all this money back into the sport right across, fund regions around the world to invest in infrastructure and support of volunteers, support their member countries. So that's not saying we're ever going to get to 210 affiliated countries, but we'd like to get to that magical 100, I think, Brett, wouldn't we? I think that's a really good target for us in the next year or two.
Yeah, and as Neil said, I mean, if you look at even at the Commonwealth Games Federation, there's about 30 members of Commonwealth Games Federation who don't play bowls. Countries in Africa, countries in the Caribbean, and so you say, well, why is that the case? Well, in many cases it'll be because they don't have the infrastructure. So hopefully, Ghana's entry and Bermuda start to set the tone that, hey, actually, I can be a member of World Bowls, but I don't need to have a bowling green. Obviously, ideally, we'd want them to have infrastructure long term, but entry level doesn't require that infrastructure, and I think that's a really good start. And Falkland Islands were probably one of the sort of the poster countries for us because everyone saw the images of them playing in the school hall and down the hallway. But now they're doing well and really the game's starting to grow there, and so is the competitiveness. So it's all possible.
Yeah, we had a good chat about that last year. If you remember, Simon, too, with Ralph, just the fact that they travelled all the way to play in the European Championships, that's insane. So he's making some good strides there. Simon and I are available to go to Barbados if you need us to go have a chat over there. If you guys are available to travel, by all means.
Jamaica, DJ, maybe Jamaica.
Either or, mate. I'm happy to go and have a look. It's all good. Anywhere in the Caribbean.
Passport's up to date, ready to go. Yeah, bags can be packed.
Yeah, get in the queue.
Oh, great. Oh, boys, this is a lot of positivity straight away. This is brilliant. So, plenty more to come here from what we're chatting about. So, myself as well could talk about the Olympics all day. But move on to some of the bigger things just have announced in the last few months. So, 2 big global partnerships have come out recently. The first one there was with the World Academy of Sport. So, jump in, whoever wants to talk about it. But what's that partnership all about, and what can we expect to see from that?
Part of us wanting to grow the sport is we've got to grow the capacity and capability to manage the sport, and that's at all levels. That's giving new players access to coaching resources. That's being able to develop coaches, be able to develop administrators, international technical officials, and the range of skills that we know across the game, club administration. So through a contact of Neil's, we came across the World Academy of Sport. They're based in Switzerland. They're working with a lot of international sporting federations. They've done work with IPC, World Curling. 2 principals are Australians, and we met with them online, and we've had one face-to-face meeting when Neil and I were in London on our way to Aberdeen. And we will be launching our first World Bowls Academy at the World Cup in November. It'll be the first step towards having a world-class learning capability where people will be able to do all of these qualifications online. We've added classification for para athletes to it because we know that if we're going to expand the para side of the game, the players need to be classified. And that's a challenge, training the classifiers, running all that process. So we're working on that. We actually just had a call with our steering group last night, and it's really looking good. I think people will be delighted when they see what's happening. We've had our coaching committee involved in because we're looking to develop global coaching certification, but coaching will be the first learning area available through the World Bowls Academy, and we'll be adding other resources along. So we can promise to the Ghanas and the new countries that not only will we support them by sending people there, but people in those countries can study for the variety of roles that people want to play in bowls, and even established countries who we know are struggling to find people to do jobs, and often it's difficult to get people to come in and run courses just because everyone's busy. So yeah, it's huge. I think it's going to be a massive long-term benefit for the sport.
Yeah, awesome. Like that's great to see those opportunities open up and how you guys are going about that. It's something we would never have heard of, but the fact that that's just going to open doors for our sport worldwide, that's fantastic that you're working towards that type of stuff. The other one then that we seen was the Bowls Club. So the Bowls Club seems to be a London-based organisation. You've got a partnership going with them. So what are we going to see from the Bowls Club partnership?
I've met these guys a couple of times now, and they're 2 fellows that run a business which is very much around entertainment, good food, good wine, good drinks, but around bowls. So they've got this venue in Finsbury Square in London, which they've developed over a number of years. And obviously it's very much a summer product whereby they use bowls as a mechanism to get people from mainly corporate enterprises in the London area to come and participate in bowls. Obviously, they use it for somewhat some team building exercises for some of the corporates, but I mean they package it up really, really well. So as I say, I've met them a few times now, and we just see an opportunity to be from our strategic kind of intent and some of the areas, the initiatives that we've got in our strategic plan. We see that they can actually help us. We can help them in their growth, but they can take us into new countries and help us introduce the sport in a way that's way more social, in fun, exciting, and built around this whole festival type atmosphere. And in new markets, they've got this formula that works really well in London. They're not a competitor as such to formal bowls, because it's very social. You wouldn't want to play on these greens, DJ and Simon. They're pretty rough in Finsbury Square, but the way they present it is just unique in the sport around the world, really. And they're enthusiastic to break into other parts in other countries. So together as partners, we'll look to work with them to do that. And places like Dubai, in Asia, I know in Australia too, there's some interest as well to do what they do, and they've just got, as I say, they've got a really good formula.
It was definitely eye-catching. I had a look at some of the videos and some of the posts from them, and the way they set up, as you say, they really package it really well. It looks really well, and a really good setup, and I think it'll be a really good to entice people that aren't familiar with lawn bowls to actually, what is this? I might get involved in this, and it's definitely another arm. I guess from a UK point of view, they don't have barefoot bowls the way we have it here. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of breaking into that kind of market for the UK market. As you say, Neil, it could possibly go to other countries as well, that you're able to do that weather-wise maybe more times throughout the year than what you would in the UK. But I definitely, the little video clips that I seen of it, I thought that's a really good positive thing that World Bowl's getting associated with businesses like that to help go down other avenues that we wouldn't have normally done in the past, maybe, and definitely open up more opportunities for people to get exposed to lawn bowls and even just hold a lawn bowl and see what it's all about, isn't it? Really,
correct. Yeah,
yeah. Sure. It's sort of nearly on our level up from the barefoot bowls system that we use here in Australia, isn't it? You know, like that's the way that we're sort of looking, and we're counting those numbers now to make sure the participation in the sport is up, and this is certainly a way to do it. I mean, I'm happy to meet those guys in Jamaica and test the food out as well. By all means, if you want to expand on me, Simon's open. Well, it's great initiative. It's like we said, these are doors that are open that we never would have thought of, and you guys are going out there and getting it done and seeing the benefit of it and showing us the benefit of it, and incorporate it into what we're trying to do here. So it's great to see that happening.
Well, and also the Bowls Club is exposing bowls to a corporate audience, and so you look at the companies that are turning up and playing in Finsbury Square, some of the big banks, some of the big finance companies. So they're people that may not have been exposed to bowls before, and so if we can capitalise on that, if they could be potential sponsors or partners in some way in the future, it all helps. And so I think these various avenues into that you can explore, and this is another one of them.
Yeah, fantastic. And anyone that's interested in all that stuff, jump on the World Bowls website or their Facebook page, go to the news section. You can read about all the articles and things on there too. So, well done, men, well done. Sport of Bowls, we'll move on to some of the playing things that are coming up this year and that have been announced recently. So, Neil, we spoke last year with the launch of the World Bowl Series.
Yep.
It's building and building pretty well, so it is. And you're finally going to launch your World Bowl Series finals in December. Club Barham will be the inaugural host down there. They're also hosting the World Champions a little bit earlier in the year. But what can we expect to see from the World Series finals down there at Club Barham?
Well, we'll see the top 24 ranked players in the world, so 12 men, 12 women. They will be attending, and it's really structured as the year-end event. So come the 31st of October, we will identify the top 10 men and the top 10 women who are ranked 1 to 10. They'll be offered a position in the season-ending event. We do have some discretion with 2 wild cards for 2 men, 2 women. Obviously, there are events that are sanctioned by the World Bowl Series in the month of November. So if there's some movement in those events in the rankings, then we'll have the opportunity to invite those fast-moving players into the season-ending event. So we'll have 24 players there in Barham, playing off, really for the title of the number one bowler in the world, male and female. So it'll be an exciting conclusion to this year's World Bowl Series. We've had 30 events sanctioned across the year, and obviously players are watching the rankings really closely now. We know that. We get that feedback from the players, and whilst it's taken a year or so to grow, we're right into it now, and I think having this season-ending event, it's what a lot of players are aspiring to participate in. Difficult to fit it in the calendar. We all know the calendar is fairly busy in the world, in Australia, everywhere. So trying to find a spot where we don't clash with something is next to impossible. But we've managed to find a week, and I suppose the next week would have been Christmas Day, but that's probably when there wasn't any bowls on, but we didn't want to run it then. So, we're all excited. It's going to be a great conclusion to the year, and we hope to see lots of people coming up to Barham if they haven't been there before. It's the centre of the universe and of Australia. It's only a small 3-hour drive from Melbourne and a little bit further from Sydney. But once you get there, you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's a fantastic facility. They are super enthusiastic to make this a real winner in partnering with World Bowls and World Bowl Series.
It is a pretty good venue. I was lucky to get down there earlier on in the year in our travels, because we went down to the BPL at Moama and then drove bullet straight for an hour, Simon.
Yeah.
No turn. You can see the curvature of the earth. It's just flat. You get there, and it is a pretty good facility. They're already advertising one of the next events we'll talk about in a second with the champions. So they're pretty keen to do it. They seem to be able to put on a good show. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. As you said, you got to start somewhere, Neil. It's good to have that interest already from the players, and they're not just sort of going, "Oh, I don't really want to travel down there to play in this event." If they're buying into it, it's only going to help make that successful. So, leading into my next question, then, are you getting what you wanted so far out of the World Series, and is it doing what you expected it to do?
Do you want to have a go at that first, Brett, or?
Yeah, look, I think so. I think simple answer, yes, and I think it delivers different things for different people. Firstly, we wanted to give the players something that they could really aspire to, and we've had world rankings in the past, but we didn't have a lot of events, so we really wanted to include a variety of events. We've got 3 tiers of events, but we're very quick to say it's early days.
Yeah.
So this is like a startup business. You're gonna learn a lot along the way. We're doing a review of the ranking system to make sure we've got the rankings right. We've got a subcommittee of World Bowls doing that. We're looking at, do we have enough tiers? Do we have the right balance of events that are open versus events where players are selected to? But you've got to start somewhere, and we're learning as we go along. I think what's really pleasing is we're getting countries wanting to host World Bowl Series events. And for some of our smaller countries, it's quite a big deal because, they can go to the government and say, hey, we're going to hold a world event here for our sport. So Japan are holding the Japan Open, which will be the first world event they've ever hosted in Japan. It looks like China are going to be in with the China Open, not this season, but at the beginning of the next season. So it gives them something that can profile the game locally. It can get government support and interest, and just be a good promotion for the game. Some people said to me when we started the players wouldn't travel. That's not true. Players are travelling all the time now. As Neil said, they're keenly looking at the rankings. But, and I think, we can be really pleased with where we've got to. There's a lot more to do. And I think if in 3 years' time, if we're having this conversation about the World Bowl Series, I think the series will look quite different. But I think in terms of the original objectives that we had, we've ticked a lot of them. Probably the next big step is standardising the broadcasting and and making sure that we've got really good broadcasting quality, and we've got some ideas around how we do that. And then you're in a position to go out to some big global sponsors and say, hey, we're delivering a really consistent product, as Neil said, across 30 events. I think it'll probably be more than that next season, and we can bring some more money into the game around that. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's gone. I'm really pleased with the way that it's generating interest. Ghana want to hold a World Bowl Series event, so we just got to find somewhere for them to play it. But seriously, that was one of the first things that the National Sports Authority said to me when we were in Accra. Hey, when can we hold a World Bowls event? I said, okay, well, this is kind of how you do it. You could import some portable rinks. You could buy some portable rinks. We actually found an area which they could easily turn into a world-class bowling green. And obviously we've talked about short mat as well. So that's great, and that just gets the interest going. So yeah, really pleased with where we've got to so far.
A good example, guys, is what's happened in 2 years in Singapore with the Lion City Cup. It started off as a pretty small event in 2024 with a number of local teams. Some countries came, including Brett took a New Zealand team, which was an unofficial New Zealand team, to the Lion City Cup last year. This year, I attended a couple of days on my way to Kuala Lumpur, and it was amazing. I mean, the number of countries increased, the number of spectators, the broadcast was a better quality. Obviously had World Bowl Series ranking points. You knew that a number of players were talking about that. Singapore backed it. And at the closing dinner, there was a lot of excitement, and it was a really well-run event. And here's an event that's just improved almost 100% in 12 months. Not saying just because it's WBS ranked, but it certainly helps. It's got that aura about it. And Singapore, as one of our members, has basic facilities, but Australia were there. Lee Schreiner was playing, Corey Wedlock, and it was a good field of players. And kudos to Bowl Singapore for making it happen.
Yeah, awesome. A couple of good things to take away from that. One, the top 10 and then the 2 wild cards. Neil, I'm glad you explained the criteria for the wild cards, because I could see Simon getting pretty excited there, thinking he might be in it with a chance for one.
I can't see
he lost to a world champion in the New South Wales champion singles quarterfinals, Jack McShane, so it was only one to beat him.
Good effort. Anyway, it might make a late charge.
So there we go. The other thing is, Brett, you were talking about getting the production and everything right. I don't know if you've listened, but the New South Wales Platinum Pennant Finals, I'd look it up on YouTube and just listen to the commentary. There's a couple of very good vels on there.
I'd have it on mute. Mute probably the best.
Is that the one that's been nominated for a BAFTA?
I believe it has. I'm not too sure which BAFTA or what that BAFTA stands for, but it's definitely. But no, it's just this is brilliant so far. Just hearing all the positive things that are coming, folks. So absolutely kudos to you two. Well done. So leading on from that, we did mention Champion Champions. Now the Champion Singles has been around for quite a long time. Club Barham get the chance to host that as well this year in September. So that's 32 nations competing across men's and women's singles. I think when I last looked, there was 27 men entries and about 30 women's entries.
Yeah.
So what can we expect this year from that event, and then leading into the future? How's this event going to look going forward?
It's year on year. We're actually up to 59 players now. We've got an extra 2 players.
Nice.
Just come in, so which gives us another country too, and that's exciting. The numbers have increased over the last 3 years, and look, I think it's a very prestigious event. I know it is, and because you have to win a lot of games in most countries, particularly if you represent Australia. Yeah. You have to win a hell of a lot of games to win the right to actually represent your country. It'll be once again highly contested. It's a good field, a good mixture of players. Obviously, you've got many national representatives participating, but then you've got some people that perhaps we don't know as much about, and I think but they've all got good stories, and I know the appetite to travel is absolutely there, and to come to Australia and participate in this event. It will be unique coming to Barham for many of the players. I'm sure they'll be wondering when they get there, as they get to about 2 hours out, thinking, am I going to get there soon? But once they get there, they'll be excited. They're going to be looked after extremely well by the people at Barham and the club and the facilities. As you said, DJ, they're excellent facilities. So we're going to put on, it's going to be a bit of a festival of bowls once again. I mean, Barham are putting on a lot of music events. There's going to be some, we're doing a pro-am at the start. So we're going to get all the players mixed up with the locals and have a pro-am as part of our opening ceremony. Okay. We'll have some traditional welcomes as well. So, I think the whole experience for many people will be a memorable one. So, plus there'll be lots of good bowls, and we'll see who comes out a winner.
Yeah, it's funny you saying about that travel. I've been thinking, Simon, the Irish representative for that's Davy Copeland.
Yeah.
He's got to travel from, Guildford
all the way
down to here, and then out to, as he says, 3 hours from Melbourne just to there. So it's a long way to go. I can only imagine how they're going to feel with it.
But that kind of event, that's a lifetime event for most people. And as you say, Neil, it's to put on a festival of bowls for that. That'll be memories that people will talk about, for years and years and years. So definitely something well worth keeping that really strong event going and making it as big as you can. Definitely, because to win your way there, that's completely different to obviously the rest of the world events that you might get selected for. And for people to actually win their way there, it's just that little bit extra kudos to those people,
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say too. Like, are you happy with where that is and how it is building? Because it has the potential, I suppose, to be like a genuine world title. It's not like a buy-in like the World Bowls Tour. It's not like the selection ones like we talk about with World Championship or Commonwealth Games. As you mentioned, Neil, with Australia, we've got to win our club, then we've got to win our region, then potentially your state, and then your country, and then you get to go to that. So it's you actually win your way to it. So that's a phenomenal one. And have you got any developments for the future coming up, or is it just basically just keep trying to build it year on year?
I think that the Champion of Champions itself is in pretty good shape, but certainly we're thinking about what are other representative events that we could grow. I think globally what I see is a lot of young people playing the game and some very, very good youth development programs around the place. So we've got our World Juniors, which this year are in Northern Ireland, not far away from where you guys are.
Jim Baker Stadium, is that right? Is that the Jim Baker Stadium?
Yeah. So I think that's and that's obviously a great event. But I think we're asking ourselves a question: what more can we do to encourage younger players? And we've got some ideas about that, which we're working on. Which if some of them come off, they'll be pretty radical for bowls. I think at the other end of the spectrum, we're also, people are living longer, this whole theme of active aging. So what can we be doing for the over 60s? Because there are people that are, starting the game later. They're still very competitive. So what could we build in where we can encourage people in that age group to be playing and maybe, playing in international events? We haven't landed on exactly what that'll look like, but we've definitely got some ideas. And it's interesting as you talk to a lot of countries and cities as you travel around. And in a previous life, I ran the economic development events and tourism agency in Auckland and New Zealand, and so I know a little bit about this firsthand. Masters athletes are really valuable visitors for cities. They tend to come earlier, they tend to stay longer, and they tend to spend a lot of money. So when you start talking about establishing circuits for over 60s or events for over 60s, those events are attractive for cities to want to bid for to get there. So that's another aspect of our sport we haven't really explored. That's a value proposition that we already have. But we probably don't capitalise on it as much as we could. That's not to say there aren't Masters events. There are, and they tend to be pretty successful. But we think we could do a lot more of that. So that's another area we're thinking about. Whether that's in a Champion of Champions format or something different, too early to say. But there are definitely areas where we know that a competitive framework would be good for encouraging people to play and potentially have some other spin-off benefits for the game.
Well, wait, definitely plenty happening behind the scenes, boys. This is brilliant. These definitely aren't just sitting there and watching the world go by, are you? These are active all the time. How many countries would you say you've been in the last 6 months?
Between Neil and I don't know, maybe 20.
Gee, where's Cravers?
Yeah, probably about a third of the of our members, I would say, or probably close to that. Certainly engaged. You know, I mean, that's the beauty of going to the events, because you get to engage with so many people, and it's exciting that, as Neil said earlier, that we are getting countries proactively coming to us now, saying, "Hey, I'd be interested in being involved." One of the meetings I had recently was with World Patonkin Bowls. So World Patonkin Bowls is an organisation that World Bowls used to be part of. It's an umbrella organisation. It's a member of the IOC, and they have petanque, bocce, rafa, and volo, which are all derivations of bowls, if you like. I mean, I used to say bowls started in Egypt 5,000 years ago, but when I was in Turkey, they corrected me and said, no, it started in Turkey 8,000 years ago. And so a long time ago. And so over time, it's just evolved in different ways. And as we know, bowls, as we know it, is, really was developed in England, banned by Henry VIII for about, it was actually banned in England for about 300 years. Because the soldiers and the farmers were spending too much time drinking and playing bowls instead of working, so we know that there's an opportunity to work with those other codes, and so that's another thing we're exploring with World Patonkin Bowls. And in some countries like Turkey, a number of the people there who are fantastic enthusiasts for the game, they play bowls, but they also play rafa and they also play volo. And that's just the way they do it. In China, our sport's run by the China Multi-Bowls Association, and that includes a number of those different disciplines. So we're trying to get a bit of consolidation and more cohesion within our game, indoor, outdoor, short mat, para, but also these opportunities to work alongside these other, related disciplines or related sports, and just see where that goes. And they have a whole bunch of countries playing their sports that don't play bowls at all. So maybe there's an opportunity to say to them, hey, what about, if you're playing rafa, why not play short mat? So it's interesting exploring those opportunities and just seeing how we can find the synergies together to get more people playing bowls. And I kind of say if you've got a bowl in your hand, eventually you'll find your way to our game. It might not be immediately, but I think, by working with those other codes, we can find opportunities.
Expand.
To work together in some of the multi-sport events. Bocce is already in the Paralympics. So if we get bowls in there, we'll be playing alongside them, and we should think that that's a good thing, because, that's, the games derive from each other, and maybe we'll get competitors from one wanting to play the other. So
a dual world champion or a dual Paralympic champion, both of them, you never know.
Absolutely. And you look at someone like Emily Koenig, who's our current world number one in the World Bowl Series rankings. And I think she's played crown, she's played indoor, outdoor. I think she's played petanque as well. And she's only in her early 20s, and obviously after playing those games decided that she wanted to play our code, but that was her pathway to get there.
There you go. It's definitely becoming a worldwide sport, which leads on to the next one. Big announcement recently: the World Championships heading to England in 2027. That'll be our first Northern Hemisphere World Championship since 2004 in Ayr, Scotland. So how's that come about? What was the process there? Was there anyone else interested? And why are we going to England?
Look, we put out, as we do for most of our events, we put out an expression of interest some time ago for the World Championships. And fortunately, England, I think the interest from England certainly stemmed from hosting the Commonwealth Games in 2022, so in Birmingham, and Leamington Spa is obviously the location for, or was the location for the Com Games, and is the location for the next World Championships in 2027. So look, I don't think we're really happy. Brett and I visited Bowls England and met with the chair of the organising committee that they've put in place and the CEO, John Cockcroft, and they're very excited about hosting this World Championships. And we're excited the fact that the Northern Hemisphere is hosting a World Championships too, because as you mentioned, the last 2023, 16, 12 and 8, so have all been in the Southern Hemisphere, hosted by Australia and New Zealand respectively, which we're very grateful for them, because it's a big effort and a big cost to host a World Championship. This year, or in 2027, it's a closed field for the open disciplines, which is 24 countries in each discipline, singles, pairs, triples, fours, men and women. We'll have the para, which we're working through, which is likely to be an open event, so open to all our para disciplines, which is 3 disciplines of men's and women's pairs, and also the VI, the visually impaired. So it's once again, it's an integrated event, which is a unique offering for a sport, for any sport that running a World Championships. The fact that we're offering able and para disciplines, and again, they're very good at hosting these events, as they did in the Com Games. They can create a very good festival atmosphere. It's a beautiful location, set in Victoria Park in near Birmingham, in a great royal town of Leamington Spa. So facilities are excellent, and we're starting the qualifying process in 2026, where we have pre-qualified countries that will come out of the last World Championship in 2023. So basically, the top 12 countries where they finished in each of the disciplines of the able body get automatically pre-qualification, and then we run qualifying events in each of our 5 regions in 2026 to determine the other countries. So it gives the opportunity for smaller countries to qualify, and they can qualify per discipline. So, if you've got a singles player in a particular country and you can't field a fours team, then that singles player can actually go to that qualifying event in 26, and hopefully for their sake, they could qualify to play at a World Championship in 2027. So all in all, it's going to be a big job for World Bowls and Bowls England, but we'll work and have been working really well together. So we're confident that Bowls England will deliver an excellent World Championship in 27.
No doubt. Leamington Spa is a fantastic location for it.
Yeah.
As you said, a lot of history there. Sam and I have been lucky enough to play there as well. Birmingham 2022. They've had a lot of big events there.
And the greens have improved a lot too, DJ. I think that they ran pretty well in the Commonwealth Games, and they've got some good green ground staff there, good greenkeepers. So we actually met them while we were there too. So one being an Aussie, as it happens.
Oh, there you go. That'll only help as well. But the thing is too, like, from experience of playing overseas, playing in the UK where we grew up, you'd struggle to find the best green in the UK to beat quite a lot of average greens out here. It's just the way it is. It's the way the grass is. It's the way the climate is. But as you said, Leamington Spa has certainly gone up and up. I remember when Simon and I were juniors playing there, it was quite a battle, especially when there was a couple of the rinks and greens you wouldn't want to have played on. The usual show greens are usually pretty darn good, but if they can get them all up to the same standard, they're going to go well. So if it's going to be in England, it's got to be either there or Worthing. But Leamington Spa's got the recent runs on the board, as you said, with the Commonwealth Games in 2022. So certainly makes sense to go there. It's not far from Birmingham, which has just got accommodation coming out of here, so it's not hard to get to. Just makes sense. And look, very excited to see that one when it finally came out, because we had talked, Simon and I done a GOAT segment on this last year where we talked about all the different nations, and when you're talking about recent World Championships, it's all just down here. So it's good to see something to get back up there in the Northern Hemisphere. So it is. So absolutely. Right, moving on from there, I've got 2 more big ticket items for us to discuss, 2 more things that were announced. So obviously the World Cup, we'll go and start with the World Cup. We've touched on it here. It's the inaugural Bowls World Cup. It'll be in Malaysia in November.
It was originally Hong Kong, but it's changed to Malaysia, and I think Hong Kong will get it next year, but you can explain that in a second. And the format of that's going to be, 6-person teams, 2 men, 2 women, 2 para.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got the top 11 nations plus Malaysia in that to contest that. So talk us through that event. How do we end up in Malaysia? What can we see from this event?
One of the things we were conscious of is a lot of the bowls in the next 12 to 18 months has been played indoor, obviously culminating in the Commonwealth Games, which are actually about 12 months away now, aren't they? Less than 12 months. So we made the decision to, in consultation with Hong Kong, to move the event to Malaysia because the Malaysian Lawn Bowls Federation have invested in 4 portable rinks. So that will give the players a chance to play on a similar surface than they'll be playing at in Glasgow. So we're going to have the 4 portable rinks set up inside a stadium next to the venue that was used for the Commonwealth Games back in 1998, and that in KL. And so that'll be a pretty amazing showcase, and great to have the integrated teams. And man, there's been some competition for selection in a number of countries. So the bowls is going to be high quality. It's going to be broadcast globally. We think we've got it's going to be a pretty special event. We initially said we'll have the next World Cup next year. We're still working through that. I think there's a lot of events now and a lot of demands on the players, so we just need to make sure that we've got the right window for that. So we'll be meeting with a lot of the nations, and we've got our AGM in KL. So we'll talk about what's the right timing for having that event in Hong Kong, and is it initially we said we'd have the World Cup every 4 years, but actually there's a lot of interest in the event. As you said, we based the teams that were invited to it on the last World Bowls and on the Gold Coast. But one of the things I've also realised as I've moved around is we have a lot of countries now that aren't members of the Commonwealth, and so while the Commonwealth Games is a big deal for about half of our members, for the other half they can't play in it. So we need to remember that we need to provide competitions for them as well. So I think it'll be a good conversation. We definitely want the World Cup to be a regular event, but we also need to think about who goes to that, and also what opportunities are we providing for big potential countries like China and even Turkey, which has huge growth potential. What opportunities are we providing for them? What opportunities are we providing for the USA, for Hong Kong, who don't play in the Commonwealth Games now, for them for the Philippines to be part of? So this year's World Cup will be great, and we'll make some decisions in KL about when we have the next one, and maybe what else we might look to include on the international calendar for those people that, as I say, don't play Com Games.
Yeah. Well, it's a great concept from the outside looking in. It's got that team ethos to it too, I suppose, because the World Cup effectively is going to be given to the best team. We're all going to have, from what I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but it's going to be men's singles, men's pairs, women's singles, women's pairs, and para singles, para pairs. And you're going to have a champion from each of those disciplines, but the overall points will elect or give the winner to the actual World Cup. So, and it's going to be played in the Commonwealth Games format. So singles, we're going to see sets play of 7 ends. And pairs, we're going to see sets play of 5 ends, 3 bowl pairs. Same as what the BPL we've got used to it here in Australia. So short, sharp, fast. Certainly looks like a good one. And as we said, that's what you can expect when we get to the Commonwealth Games. So all played indoors as well on their undercover green. And then, as you said, the portable rinks that are there. So, yeah, certainly looks like a great format. And, I'm sure you're excited to have it up and running.
And we are in Malaysia are pulling out all the stops. Neil was there recently for an organising committee meeting, and it's the first time they've hosted a major event for some time. So it's very prestigious for them. Off the back of some of their international successes, a number of their athletes Nor Farah, who won the World Indoor last year. She was made the Sportswoman of the Year across all sports. So bowls is going through a massive growth phase in Malaysia. So for them to host it, it's fantastic for them, and I think it'll be fantastic for the game. And it's got high level political support, which enabled them to step up to host it when we realised that we weren't going to be able to play it all indoors in Hong Kong. So and when we have the event in Hong Kong, we'll probably play it all outdoors, because that'll hopefully be a lead into the World Champs outdoors.
Yeah, so we sort of touched on it. There's not really a plan of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year gap type of thing. Just going to see, we want it to keep going. We just want to see how it fits in the calendar. As you said, you don't want to saturate the market too much. It is pretty claustrophobic, your calendars. As a Bulls administrator, I can tell you it's a headache. But yeah, no, it'd be great to see this one.
We don't want to run just too many events just for the sake of it, because we don't. To be frank, we'll need to farm the events out. That's where the World Bowl Series works well. When other people are running the events, they are sanctioned. They mean a bit more than just running their event. So being part of a tour now, being part of a series. But we've only got so much capacity to run events. And we need to run really good events that are broadcast well, that are watched on social media, on a broadcast platform, and just get more eyeballs, because everyone keeps telling us you need better data and more eyeballs, more people watching the sport. And yes, we have a lot of people, as we all know, the converted watch a lot of bowls online these days. But we actually need to get new eyeballs watching the sport as well, which then can help us to achieve getting more countries interested in becoming involved with World Bowls. So we just got to create a better hook.
The right commentary team can do that. If you check out New South Platinum Pen fans.
Commentary aside, just while you guys are talking there, and the World Cup and talking about portable rinks and things like that, and just to touch on exactly what you said there, Neil, in terms of getting new people watching and eyeballs on our sport, here's a few outside of the box thoughts coming straight out of the brain here. Yeah, it could be anything. But I've always had in the back of my mind, if we could get lawn bowls to a venue that's not a lawn bowls venue. So, for instance, could we get lawn bowls in, for instance, centre court at Wimbledon? Could we remove the tennis nets and let's fill centre court at Wimbledon? Could we get lawn bowls right at the side of the Harbour Bridge? Like iconic backdrops that would be viral on the internet, that you would get so many more people that have never seen lawn bowls before watching because of certain backdrops, or how we got it in Vegas. Could we play, a portable rink in Vegas and hold a World Cup in Vegas? Things like that I think that maybe have not been explored before. And, hopefully something, you guys would be the prime guys to drive things like that. And that would be, I think, it's certain eyeballs would definitely get on our sport doing things like that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I always remember being in New York on business many years ago and sort of walking into Grand Central Station, and there was the World Squash squash tour event, with the glass court. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I believe, we can definitely do that with bowls, whether it's a portable rink or a short mat. We can do that, and we do need to do it. I think that's the logical extension of the World Bowl Series, is to be able to have some tournaments which are not played on in bowling greens. And I hadn't thought about the idea of Wimbledon. That's genius, Simon. Well, you'll get full credit for that. But I think, why not? Why not look at taking a game to different places? And I think the fact that we were able to pivot the whole game, drop the word lawn, just call it bowls, play it in the Scottish Event Centre. We haven't done it yet, but we've got a lot of. I think was a bit of a wake up call for some of our partners actually, who went, okay, so you can actually do these things. And as we know, for those people that follow the game, and I was involved with the World Bowls Tour for about 10 years. as PBA president on that board. And one of my aspirations then was, great that we've got the portable rink at Potters, but wouldn't it be great if we got portable rinks in a casino or somewhere else around the place? It didn't happen then, but it can happen now.
Yeah.
And I think, that should be our aspiration. I mean, the more we can take the game to the people rather than the people having to come to the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then I think the more is the opportunity, and obviously it gets global publicity when you see those activations for events that are done, whether it's as a stunt or whether even better when it's an actual tournament, like the squash was. I just think that's a huge opportunity for us, and the more portable rinks we get, we're going to have some. Obviously, Malaysia have invested in theirs, and they're keen to see them used around Asia. We're talking to the organisers of Glasgow about what will happen to the portable rinks there, and can we use them for legacy promotion of the game in the Commonwealth. Maybe we could take one of those portable rinks to Ghana and set it up there, or to other countries, and just show the game in a different way.
Simon Little, I've never been more proud of you right now. 52 episodes. Welcome to the podcast. Lawn bowls in the middle of Wimbledon. Neil's emailing Wimbledon right now. I can see it. So, mate, Simon, taking me away there, mate. Well done. Doesn't say much, but when he does, it's worth it. All right, moving on to the next one, folks. Right. So I think we're pretty much done with the World Cup there. It sounds like a great prospect. Hopefully it's something we can keep going. It's a real team ethos rather than just, I know there's the Leonard Trophy at the end of the World Championships and that. I know that's there, but this really has a team ethos around it. So it'd be great to see that come to fruition and hang around. But with that, you are launching the World Bowls Hall of Fame on the last night of that event. I absolutely love this. I had a chat with Aaron Sheriff a couple of weeks ago, and Aaron brought up he's got concerns at times that our past champions just aren't celebrated enough. So this is definitely a way that this is coming into being. So just give us an insight into how that came about and what are we going to see in year one.
I'm on the World Bowls Hall of Fame committee as an ex officio member. So I'll be a little bit careful what I say because I don't want to give too much away for the event. The idea of a Hall of Fame had been around for a while, and in fact, I think when I first joined the World Bowls board in 2021, Kerry Clark, who's a former World Bowls president, a fellow countryman of mine, and said to me, "Hey, great that you're on the World Bowls board. You should think about a World Bowls Hall of Fame." So when I became president last year, it was something that we talked about as a board, so it's not my idea. And so we formed a World Bowls Hall of Fame committee. It's made up of some of the absolute legends of the sport, and Kerry agreed to chair it, which I was really grateful for. And we've just been working through a process of, if you like, it's a bit like an electoral college, of sort of working through a process of how to acknowledge people. And there's a lot of stuff to acknowledge. It's challenging because, for a time, the women's and men's game was separate. There wasn't a lot of international, competition consistently. And so there's been quite a lot of work that Kerry and the committee have done around trying to, I don't know what the word is, normalise some of that stuff. And you'll see when we announce the initial inductees to the Hall of Fame, we're also going to acknowledge some people that couldn't have possibly qualified for the Hall of Fame because they just didn't have enough events to play in, but actually still deserve to be recognised for the reasons that you said. We need to celebrate our history. We need to understand where we've come from and acknowledge the people that have come before us. Initial induction is just focused on players, but we do think there's a role, whether it's in the Hall of Fame or an adjacent category, to acknowledge people that have contributed in other ways to the game, and administration, umpiring, coaching, those sorts of things. But this initial focus is on inductees, and it's going to be a really special night. We hope to have some of the inductees there. and we're also working with the member nations to say, okay, well, if the inductees can't get there for various reasons, and some have passed, unfortunately, but we want to make sure that, you know, if they can't be in KL for the initial announcement, then we'll have other events, and this will be a rolling process. You know, we will keep inducting people. There's a lot of people to acknowledge over a long period of time, but I think it's exciting. I love the history of the game, and I think we haven't been great at recording it. So this gives us a really good opportunity to do that. As part of, we've recently appointed Richard Corrie to be our statistician. So Richard will also help. You know, some of our records aren't great around all of our events, and they're not in one place on our website. So we want to consolidate all of those. And obviously the Hall of Fame is kind of the highest category, but we just need to make sure we're also recording who's won what over the years, and hopefully, you know, be able to tell the stories, because the people are one part of it, but it's actually the stories of how they got there that are interesting as well. So we'll be trying to flesh those out over a period of time, so that people can really understand that, you know, there have been some incredible sports people that have played our game and who have achieved some incredible things, and so it's appropriate they be acknowledged.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you can't give too much away, but I'm assuming there's probably going to be a podcast section in there, and there's 2 front runners. Why are you laughing, Neil?
Hope you've listened to DJ's GOAT episodes.
No, I'm definitely looking forward. Obviously, I'm assuming you definitely can't give too much away, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing who those initial inductees are. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinions. I've been giving it a bit of thought since I heard about it, and there's definitely a few in there that you'd like to see included in there. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant. Some of the stuff you've come up with in the last 6 months, it just shows that we've got the right people in the right places at the minute, because the sport seems to be moving forward, and there's definitely a pathway and vision to move it forward. So, absolutely brilliant to obviously you 2 men that are talking this tonight, but everyone else that's involved with World Bowls at the minute. I'm absolutely stoked to sit here and talk about this. So this has been a brilliant episode. It really has been insightful, Brett. If you'll come back, we'll have you back. I mean, I reckon we could probably do a 3-hour episode with you. It'd be unbelievable. But yeah, look, just before
good cure for insomnia, DJ. But can I just thank you for acknowledging the other people involved. I think across all of our committees, we've got almost 50 people who volunteer their time at board level and subcommittees to move World Bowls along. We're not a federation that has a lot of money compared to others, but that combined effort and the work that you guys do as well is all making the boat go a bit faster, and that's the key.
Yeah, no, super, absolutely. You're 100% right. It's what makes the sport go around is the volunteers. So 100%. And the people at that level, at your level, sometimes don't get the credit. Very open to criticism at times. So they are very easy to criticize, but I think he's done an absolutely super job, especially, well, probably longer than the last 6 months. But for, like I said, every time I open Facebook or LinkedIn or even just on any article, it just seems to be World Bowls is doing this, World Bowls is doing that. And it's maybe just because we are doing the podcast now, we're a bit more aware of it, but I don't recall this in all my previous years of being a Bowls administrator, seeing World Bowls doing just so much for the sport and trying to move the sport. So I'm really impressed, and I'm really happy to see that you guys are at the head of the sport and driving it that way. So long may it continue. And I'm not just saying that to get a commentary gig. I genuinely mean it. But you said, no, it's... In all seriousness, it has been great. This has been a really, really insightful episode. Obviously, we read the stuff that we wanted to talk about coming into this, but you've added so much extra to it that we didn't know about, and I hope this gets the traction that it deserves as well. So obviously, we'll share it around like we normally do. Simon, I think we might have to rename this episode "What a Load of World Bowls."
Yeah,
you can use it too.
Yeah,
we'll get a logo off you and we'll put it on there for this one. But this has been super. So really, thank you, fellas, for your time. Before we do go, like I've asked you a lot of questions, is there anything that we've maybe skipped around, or is there anything big that you do want to talk about, or just say that this is coming and blah, blah, blah? Obviously, we've said there's a few things we're keeping up under wraps, but like, is there anything else happening behind the scenes that we can get excited for?
No, I think we've covered most things. I mean, as you say, there's a lot a lot going on, and as Brett said, it's important to acknowledge all the other people that are contributing in different ways. And simply, you guys, what you do is important for the media landscape. And so, thanks for giving us the opportunity to tell our story. And we'd be happy to amplify this podcast, not just because we're on it, but but for the benefit of the sport is what we're here for.
Well, that's what we like to hear too, Neil, because we just started this out because the two of us like to talk rubbish to each other, and it's grown and grown, and here we have the president and the CEO of our sport giving up their time to actually sit and talk to us. So we're really happy with how it's going, and really happy to be involved and help out where we can. So yeah, great. Again, I can't thank you enough for the time you've given for this. Very, very insightful. Simon, you got anything you want to say?
Well, you talk rubbish, but I don't. I come up with really genius ideas and thoughtful things. So. Yeah. Like it's definitely as just a pure bowler, not somebody that runs a bowls podcast. I would have no idea what the president of World Bowls does or the CEO of World Bowls does before we spoke to you guys or before we spoke to you, Neil, previously. And I think just giving the bowlers out there that do listen to us and a bit of insight into what you guys do, and obviously doing a hell of a lot for our sport, and just to get that sort of voice out there and what you're pushing and what you're doing, I think is just, we'll happily do that all day long, because it's only going to benefit our sport, which is what we all want in the end. So yeah, I really appreciate your time to do this, guys, and hopefully we'll happily have you on again, and future news articles or anything that World Bowls is doing, and we'll happily get you guys on and give us a bit more insight at the time.
Live one from the World Cup, Simon, what do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Some live podcasting from some events, definitely.
I suggest that, DJ. I thought it's a good opportunity, a bit of live coverage, live cross.
Oh, I'll be interested. I'll be there, so I'm very interested on it. Great opportunity, so absolutely.
You could probably produce a week of podcasts from the people that are going to be there and some of the activity. Also, I will say, look, there's no mortgage on good ideas. Yeah. So, just the idea you raised tonight, Simon, about Wimbledon, I'd never thought of that. But I mean, just keep the ideas flowing. The more people discuss the game, we don't mind feedback, we don't mind criticism. That's all part of the process. So the more we have forums like this that get people talking and get people thinking about the game, the better.
Yeah, awesome. Well, fellas, thanks very much. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. It's obviously very, very key for you guys to have extra time and a bit of leeway and a bit of downtime, because this is pretty late in the night, especially where you are, Brett. So honestly, thank you very much, fellas, and yeah, we will definitely have you back.
Thanks a lot,
Simon. Thanks, DJ.
Well, mate, that was Neil back with us again, and President Brett O'Reilly. First time we got to meet Brett. Very, very intelligent man, very impressive man. I'm pretty happy with what I seen there and heard there, mate, from the two of the figureheads of our sport.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's good to hear from the people that are running our world organization and what they actually do and where they go and things that they're happening behind the scenes that we don't really hear about or know about sometimes. But for them to give up their time and come on and let us know what's going on, I think it's all good that we get to hear that. And I guess it shows where efforts are going within our sport, and there's some positivity, and a lot of positivity actually when you listen to their interview.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
Yeah, it's like great to hear that kind of thing and positive things in our sport, because as you mentioned, there's a lot of, throughout that interview, you mentioned there's a lot of negativity in our sport at times, and it's good to hear that there's really good things happening and some people really driving that.
I was having this conversation today with one of the managers at work who said, he said about the sport, and everyone said it's going to die out at some point. Where's it going? I said, I think there's a resurgence coming, because I'm not hearing as much of the negativity stuff as what we have. But it's maybe that we're not hearing it, but also you look at the marketing that's coming out of some of our organisations, starting at Bowls New South Wales, working into Bowls Australia, and working into World Bowls. Like, the things that are happening, they're happening, and they're showing people what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, part of the reason we did this was because there were so many announcements from May up until now as to what's going on in the world of bowls from World Bowls.
Yeah.
It made sense to get them on and talk about it. Like, you can go on and read those articles, but I thought we got some great insights there today.
Definitely.
To listen to. This is going to be, I think this could be a good episode for people just to listen to and really understand. I know we have a lot of fun on here, but to actually sit back and really understand what's going on with our sport, get out of your little bubble of playing social bowls every Tuesday morning and listen to what these guys are actually doing that are running your sport. Like, there's such a bigger picture out here. We're getting new nations. We've joined the IPC. I'm so impressed with that episode. I'm actually taken back by it all. So, yeah, looking to see how it all plays out and watch this over the next couple of years. It's just super. But aware of time, mate. We'll start to wrap up, but we can't go forward without mentioning. Obviously, we had our Gold Nugget episode last week. Thanks again to Win Turley, who jumped in the last minute and helped us out there. But the Gold Nugget went ahead again, mate. Both Lee Schreiner and Natasha Van Eldik were going to try and go 3 in a row, I think. Lee definitely was, but wasn't to be for him. Didn't make it out of the section this time. But Natasha made it all the way to the final. But we had 2 first-time winners.
We did, yeah.
I suppose outside looking in, I don't think there would have been 2 that may have been picked given the field. Well done, Jamie Lee Worsthorpe, taking out the ladies' event. And Jack McShane's up there again. Yes, you're always going to look at him. He's just gone on truckloads ever since he knocked you out of the Champion of Champions. So he's just gone to a different level. But he went undefeated throughout the whole event. Knocked off some of the big names. And, well done to those 2 who won the men's and the women's gold nugget for 2025.
Great efforts, yeah. Great tournament up there at Club Tweed.
Yeah, well done, Turles, and everyone that helps up there. It's super to see, and the live stream was great too. Only disappointing thing was a few people mistook Kevin Anderson for me, which is a pretty big insult to me, not Kevin. Kevin was delighted. But yeah, it wasn't me commentating this time. It was Kevin Anderson. But I heard it was pretty good. So well done to the boys up there. Well done to everyone at Tweed. A few more things coming up soon that we'll report on. But I think for now, everyone can just sit back, enjoy that episode, share it everywhere, send your feedback in. If there's anything you want to ask these guys from what you've heard in the episode, we can forward that on to them. It's some big things happening in our sport, and I'm very excited for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't, any listeners out there, if you don't follow World Bowls, jump onto their Facebook. That's how we hear what's coming out of World Bowls, and jump on, follow their page, and you'll see what's happening. And you know, for instance, their trips over to different countries, what's happening in different countries, and it's a bit of an eye opener if you don't follow already. So jump on there, follow World Bowls, and keep up to date with all their events and what's happening.
Yep, well, I'll do for this week, mate. We may not get into the Hall of Fame as the best podcasters, but we know ourselves we are the best podcasters of bowls in the world. With that, folks, keep that little disc on the inside.
And good luck on those greens. The views, information, or opinions expressed during What a Load of Bowls podcast episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not represent those of any group, organization, or employer associated or affiliated to individuals. This podcast is for general information purposes only, to educate and inform. This podcast does not constitute professional advice or services. What a Load of Bowls does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed or statements made within episodes.